My name's Janice Walsh. I live here locally in LaPorte, and I've been flying for 30 years now. Learned to fly in 1990. My husband had some friends at work that were pilots, and he'd go flying with them, and of course I sat in the back seat. And then once he decided he was going to learn to fly, I said, well, me too. We've always done everything together. We hunted together, we did scuba together, ride motorcycles together, so it was just natural that we would learn to fly at the same time. Our first instructor was a local instructor at the airport, and we flew his airplane. And then eventually we were in a club with 3 other people, and we did a lot of trips back and forth from here to Pennsylvania, because that's where our family was. And that was sort of the original reason why we learned to fly. And then we caught the aviation bug. So as we continued on, we got our instrument rating and we got our commercial certificates, and then it was just natural that we would become flight instructors. Little did we know how much we would enjoy that. We continued to keep our day jobs, but our flight instructing was pretty much our hobby job, but we fell in love with it. And then through that, being a flight instructor, I also did a lot of ground school. So as far as thinking about how many students I've instructed over the years or how many I've helped get their license, I never really kept track of that, but I just have so many wonderful memories of all the men and women that I've really worked to try to inspire, teaching them that the sky's the limit. They can do anything that they want. In recent years, I do have an interesting student that worked so hard. He was a light sport pilot. And that's a little 2-seater airplane with generally it has a small engine and it's limited on the weight rather than as a private pilot. And the minimum hours for that was 20, and that young man did it in 25, which is pretty good. He went on to buy his own light sport airplane, and now he flies over 200 hours a year. So I was really impressed with him. And I stay in touch with him, and now he's been married for a little while and has a little baby. So it's just kind of a fun story. Recalling people that I have taught in the past, I don't believe there's anybody I've known that's gone onto the airlines. At least no one's come back to me and say, hey, I fly a 777. So, but one of the organizations that has been the most important to me is the 99s. And that's the International Organization of Women Pilots. We have over 6,000 members, and we are in, I believe, like 30 countries. So I have met women from all over the world, from Russia, Germany. On my Zoom webinar the other day that we had, we actually had a woman from Finland listening in, so that was exciting for me. The 99s are... I'm stumbling right now, but our mission statement is to promote world fellowship through flight, provide networking and scholarship opportunities for women in aviation, education in the community, and preserve the unique history of women in aviation. And speaking of scholarships, in 1996, I was a scholarship winner for my commercial certificate. So that's really what enabled me to become a flight instructor. When they awarded me that scholarship, at that point, it was sort of a turning point for me, like they believe in me. And so then I just ran with that. Some of the things that I've done with the 99s, I was the scholarship chairman for the North Central section. That's over 9 states. I did that for about 10 years. Most recently, I've stepped into a leadership position as what we call the governor of the North Central section, and I'm the leader of the 9 states, and we have a board of directors, but they assist me. We have a really great group of women. It's so inspiring. Some of the women pilots through the 99s I've met over the year were WASPs. Those are the women air service pilots that flew during World War II. I've met astronauts that were on the space station for 6 months at a time. I've met 2 or 3 of them. Some of the other things that I've done with the 99s, we offer a Girl Scout program where I know one of our chapters down in Kentucky has as many as 200 girls that attend. Now here at LaPorte, Diane Schwartz, our airport manager, has just been such a wonderful support to us. And 2 years in a row, we did a Girls Aviation Day where we've had as many as 25. And it was all women who provided the programs that they went to. They went from stage to stage or place to place. I know one of the things I did was I had them out at the maintenance hangar and showed them how to pre-flight a small Cessna. So that was sort of a fun thing. So the 99s is just, as you can tell, 30 years of my life, and I really enjoy that organization. Now, another organization that my husband and I both belong to is Civil Air Patrol. We are 9-year members. We are charter members of the Indiana 144 Squadron here. We are a flying squadron, thanks to LaPorte Airport. They've provided a hangar for us to keep our aircraft. And Civil Air Patrol has 3 particular missions. That's cadet programs, and I've been heavily involved in giving orientation flights with cadets. Those are the 12 to 18-year-olds, and we give them their first experience in an airplane. They get to fly in the right seat. Once we get to altitude, they get to take the controls, and they just love it. Some of these children that we've flown with, especially when I've been down to Indianapolis area, this is like an opportunity that they would have never dreamt of, so it is just enjoyable. One of our other programs is aerospace education. Some of us work with school teachers and help them develop aerospace ed programs in the classroom, and then they get what we call a top flight. That's where the teacher gets to fly in the right seat with us, and they get to experience flight itself, and it's at no charge to them. The third mission for Civil Air Patrol is emergency services. I'm actually a mission pilot with Civil Air Patrol, so we go out and we can do search and rescue. We've done airborne photography. Last summer, we flew down to Evansville and took photographs of the Ohio River down there and some of the viaducts. We flew over the water treatment plant and did that sort of as a before picture in case they have anything happen. I know they're kind of on a fault there, the New Madrid fault, and that way we have a record of that. So that's some of the things. As pilots are listening to this today, they'll hear me use the word ELT mission, and that's an emergency locator transmitter that is in every airplane. And occasionally a small airplane might go down, and that will automatically activate, and we would go out and search for that. And mostly at local airports, if we get a call out to go fly and hone in on that, it's generally an airplane that's just sitting in a hangar, fortunately. And that's something that we do, though, as far as emergency services. As far as nationally, the Civil Air Patrol has been involved in hurricane search and rescue and recovery, and they take photographs for those things, too. Some of my memorable activities that I've done as a pilot is air racing. Back in 2012, my friend Margaret went from Michigan and I flew all the way out to Lake Havasu, Arizona, and there were 100 other women there because there were at least 50 airplanes and 2 women to an airplane and sometimes a third passenger in the back. And the 50 airplanes took off all within like every 2 to 3 minutes they were taking off. And we left Lake Havasu. We flew 2,300 nautical miles across the country, landing at 9 different airports, doing flybys. And this is it's a race. It's not a speed race so much as it is a timed race. You are handicapped, and you have to try to fly the airspeed quicker than what you're handicapped to. So I hope I explained that a little bit. But we ended up in Cincinnati at Sporty's. Pilots that are watching this will know where Sporty's is. And Hal Sheevers, the owner of Sporty's, really had quite a banquet for us and quite a celebration at the end of the race. We didn't win the race, but we did finish it because sometimes airplanes break, we have bad weather, all that. So that was a really memorable thing for me. When my husband and I have been flying, we've been to Key West, we've been to Outer Banks in North Carolina, and we've landed at Kitty Hawk at first flight, which was quite a fun thing to do. And then we visited the museum down there. I think as far as some of the other people that I met, I guess I forgot to mention the Mercury 13 women. Those were the women that were originally selected to possibly be astronauts. This was during, I believe, President Johnson's terms. But anyways, they scrubbed that program. The women never did get to go to space. But I was sitting in a 99's banquet one time talking to these ladies, and they were saying about flying with their babies and handing a bottle in the back seat. And later I found out she was one of the Mercury 13 women, and you would have never guessed it. They're just, these women that have done these amazing things are just so humble, and that was one of the things I wanted to make sure I mentioned. Something else interesting that we've had an opportunity to do is to go down to Purdue to view the Amelia Earhart archives and to have all those things laid out in front of us that either Amelia wore or she used in setting some of her airspeed and her flying around the world events. That was interesting just to sit there and see that and look at it. As far as advice for student pilots and pilots, one of my main things in my flying is safety first. And I want every pilot and student pilot to always be safe. Don't ever get in a hurry to get somewhere. Use your checklists. And as far as for student pilots, one of my things is don't give up, stay laser focused, and don't take 5 years to get your license, okay? It's too painful. You've got to fly 2 to 3 times a week, if you can, and get it done. It's easily done in 6 months to a year. When my husband and I learned to fly, we flew at least 3 times a week, if not 4, and we both had our license within 6 months. So it can be done. And for pilots, just go fly, because that's how you stay safe. That's how you stay current. So don't come up with a million excuses why you can't fly. Just go fly. And I'm going to finish with my favorite quote, and I don't have the person's name, but he was French. And this is it. I fly because it frees my mind from the tyranny of petty things. I feel that we are making progress with young women in aviation. Little girls nowadays know that they can do a lot of things. My granddaughter, 10 years old, is racing a junior dragster this year, okay? And I do think that girls are realizing they can do more. They need to realize when I was a child, when I was young, I would have never thought I would have been a pilot. I mean, I was 35 when I learned to fly, so it wasn't something that I had this dream about as a child. I know the EAA, that's the Experimental Aircraft Association, I just had a survey. They sent me a survey, and all the other women I don't know if it's women in EAA or women pilots, but they were asking some of those questions, trying to, take a survey to get an idea of how they can reach out. Civil Air Patrol is looking into diversity, and just the last article that I read from Civil Air Patrol, it had female cadets at the controls of the airplane. So they're doing their job to encourage women. EAA is looking into it. And of course, the 99s, we're always out there wanting young women to know. And I think there's more opportunities out there with scholarships. The girls are just, I think it is out there more. We still have a long ways to go because only 7% of pilots are female. I think when young people know about Civil Air Patrol and we give them that opportunity, especially the flying opportunity, but it teaches them discipline. And if that's something you're looking for, but our one young person that did join the Civil Air Patrol, he's so excited. I would go see his mom, and she'd say, "Oh, he's got his uniform now, and we're gonna sew all his. They have to sew their nameplate on there, what their rank is, and all that." And he's so excited. And they get to wear what they call BDUs. Those are battle dress uniforms, and so it's like the fatigues, and they love that. And at the Valpo Squadron, they practice marching. They practice presenting the colors, which we don't think so much about, but some squadrons go for competition just in marching and carrying the color guard with the flags, the state flag, the Civil Air Patrol flag, and the United States flag. So it really promotes a spirit of patriotism, if that's something that young people are looking for. Yes, Civil Air Patrol cadets can learn to fly. And that reminds me of one of my favorite activities that I do as a flight instructor. My husband and I both have gone for several years to it's called the Johnson Flight Academy. It's in Mattoon, Illinois, and it's a week-long activity where the cadets, generally they're 15 to 16 years old, because at 16, you can solo an airplane. And they come, and we have about 40 of them, and they get that flight experience. So that's where, as a flight instructor, I'm in the right seat, they're in the left seat, and they get to learn to start the engine, use those checklists, taxi, takeoff, the landings, a lot of maneuvers, and they all get 10 hours of flight, and over half of them will solo in that week-long activity. So that they do get to fly. We had a young man that came to fly with us over here at LaPorte and used our squadron airplane, and he got to solo. And just because of Civil Air Patrol and his experiences and his school activities, he actually got accepted into the Merchant Marine. And it's very much like all the academies, like the Air Force, the Army, the Navy, and the Marines. So it was a big deal. When you belong to Civil Air Patrol, and if you have wanted to go Air Force or any of those activities, they really, it gives you that leg up or that edge to do that.